So as a lot of you guys will remember, a few months back, I did a review of the Neweer NL660 LED light panel kit, as you see featured right here. And I've used those as my primary sources of light for every single video since then. Now, what I've learned since then is that A, I really love the portability, versatility, and affordability of this light, but what I don't like is the fact that it's a little too harsh. It's not giving me that nice soft key light for that professional look that I'm going for. I'm finding a little bit too harsh of shadows, and I keep jerry-rigging different things and trying different lighting techniques to try to make these things work flawlessly, but it's like every situation's different. So to make things a lot simpler, I scoured the internet. I tried to find a softbox for these type of lights, which isn't the easiest thing in the world because a lot of them are just so thin. I just didn't really think they were gonna work that well. But I was pleased to find out that Neweer actually makes a 6-inch deep softbox, as you can see featured here, that's made directly for this 660 light panel LED kit that I had bought. So I'm really intrigued to check it out and just see if I can get those nice soft professional looking effects in my videos and photos. So today that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna test out this softbox and just see if it's worth it. And I wanted to take you guys along on that journey because if you had purchased either the NL660 or a light panel kit just like that, you're probably experiencing some of this same struggle. So without further ado, let's roll the intro and then let's get into some testing. First things first, let me show you guys how to install this panel. The first thing you're gonna need to do is remove these barn doors, which you can get started with a flathead screwdriver, and then you can just simply use your hand to unscrew the rest. And it comes off just like that. What I like to do with the screws is I just screw them back into the terminals they came out of. That way, if I ever want to add that barn door back on, I'm not gonna have to lose these or have to buy some new ones. All right, after you do that, you can go ahead and grab the softbox. Now, as you guys saw from the intro, I had previously taken the softbox out of the packaging just so I could learn how to put it on before I show you guys. But just like when I go camping, it's easy to take the sleeping bag out, but for some reason when you have to roll it back up, it's nearly impossible to fit into the carrying case again. So as you guys can see here, it came a lot cleaner than that. But anyway, very simple stuff. Just folds right out like that. Now you're gonna pull the edges out, and as you can see here, there's two little rods, and they're actually magnetic. So you just push them together like that, and it's really as simple as that. Go corner by corner, put the magnets together, and boom, you actually have it all the way out there. Now, as you can see here, there is Velcro, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure it's horizontal just like so. I'm gonna go ahead and tilt this LED panel to make it a tad bit easier to install. Like I said, and what I'll probably do is actually flip this a little so you guys can see a little easier. Put that over. So what we're gonna wanna do is put the side down, top over, side down, top over. Just like that, and then go ahead and hit the bottom. There we go. Side over, bottom up. And then after that, you're just gonna Velcro the straps on the side. And then it comes with these two long straps, and you're literally just gonna go right over the top. Make sure that it's nice and snug. And after that, boom, you're all done. It's on there. So now we can just tighten down the panel. Now that it's tightened down, this thing's on there. So initially what I want to talk about is A, how easy it is to install. Very portable because you can just pop it on, pop it off. And that brings me to my second point. The quality of this thing, very rugged, feels very nice, feels snug, doesn't feel like it's gonna fall off, does not feel cheap by any means. So I was pleasantly surprised with the quality. Now the last part to put on is kind of this, spider web looking material. And the reason that you want this is because just like the barn doors, these right here are for light direction. While this webbing material is going to just keep the light very directional facing forward, which just also helps because we're softening the light. It just helps light everything up a little bit smoother and better. So that's really awesome. They included that because a lot of softbox lights do not include this. So this would normally be something you buy separate. But just like that, everything's on. So let's go ahead and start testing this thing out because the setup was just that easy. All right, the rules for today's test are very simple. I'm gonna simply set up the Neweer NL660 light panels next to each other. And what we're gonna do, one with the diffusion softbox and one without. And I'm gonna simply turn one on and one off in a controlled setting. I have blackout curtains. We're gonna make sure this room is pitch black. We're gonna do the same test subject. So we're gonna try a little bit of product photography just so we can get a good idea, good testing. And we're gonna make sure that the dials on the back, they're all dialed in the exact same way so that we can make sure that the test is as accurate as possible. And then at the end, we'll review the footage and then I'll give you guys my thoughts and then you guys can let me know in the comment section what you thought and if you guys think this is worth the $40 investment and maybe if you guys even wanna pick one up for yourself. But without further ado, let's get into this test. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that little video montage that I put together for you. I'm not doing too many images. I just did a few images right here in my office because this is really the space that I film and record in 99% of the time. So I'm just trying to be as realistic to my experience as possible. But I wanted to do a couple portraits as you saw, as well as a few product photography pictures. First up, we have my Xbox One Elite controller sitting on its charging base. Now, the first image I'm showing you obviously is with that diffusion panel, so get a good look at that. Now let's flip over without. So right out the gate, I'm already noticing it's way overexposed. Now, could I have dialed in that color temperature and the brightness a little bit better? Absolutely. But like I said, I wanted a nice apples to apples comparison, so I had to keep the dials the same way for both images. Now on this one, I'm gonna already say that I notice, other than it being overexposed, that light is super harsh and it's really making the subject blend in with the background. Because if you look at the background difference between the first image and the second image, you'll notice the background is so much brighter without that diffusion panel, and because of that, it's clashing with the image that I'm trying to portray. Not only that, you can see the harsh shadow coming off of the base and from the controller itself. So it's really just not very flattering because, again, when we look at that first picture, everything looks so much more even, smooth, and blended. Those shadows don't have such harsh lines. And again, these aren't even edited yet, so we could have done a little bit better, but I'm just trying to give a comparison here. Next up, as you can see, we have actually the light coming from a top-down point of view. And this is just to give a different perspective on lighting of the same image. So there's with the diffusion panel. Next up, we have without. Now again, when you notice with the diffusion panel, our subject is really honed in. It's really smooth. It's really good looking. And what I'm noticing is the image is really popping out from that background. It's standing out in its own, because when you look at the background on without the diffusion panel, again, we're seeing that brightness, because even though we have the barn doors, it's just the color, or not the color, the brightness and the light is leaking out all over the desk, all over the background, and it's really not drawing your viewer's eyes directly to the subject. Other than that, again, we are seeing a lot harsher of shadows underneath the controller, which is okay in this scenario, because top down, if you're gonna have those, you know, casted shadows, it's for a dramatic effect anyway. But that gives you an idea there. Next up, I got a pair of Jordan 1 Royal Toes. and I decided to hang them like they were hanging from a wire. Now this one is really interesting to me because as you can see, this photo is a lot closer. The props are a lot closer to the background. Now that's with the diffusion panel. Here's without. Again, we're noticing some of the same themes. The background is way too bright. It's way too overexposed. And not only that, you're seeing a lot of shadows behind these sneakers. It's really just not flattering, and it's not letting the sneakers be the hero of the shot because there's way too much in focus. And again, if you are a content creator in a smaller studio and you can't create that amount of depth, this could be a good trick for you because literally the same exact spot just with a $40 diffusion panel, and it makes all the difference in the world, in my opinion. All right, let's go ahead and get into these portraits here. So first up, we have a portrait of myself. This is with the diffusion panel, and this one's without. Again, this one is actually not as dramatic as some of the product photographies because the background was so dark that I feel like it blended well. But again, I feel that the diffusion panel just gave me a much cleaner, smoother, and softer light on my face. And I think it's a lot more flattering when you flip back and forth between the two. Again, with some editing, you could have probably made it without the diffusion panel look pretty good, but that just gives you an example there. Now, the second photo, when I changed the position of the lighting, this is where things got interesting. So this is with the diffusion panel, and this is without. Now, what I really want you guys to take a look at here is on the second one, even though it's not super harsh, you can see shadowing from my silhouette onto the background, which, again, that just is not exactly the aesthetic and theme that I'm going for. But more than that, if you take a look at my hat, you can see such a harsh brim shadow running across my forehead in that picture. And in my opinion, I think it just ruins the picture. Because when we flip back to the first one again, it really just seemed a lot more. It's because the light direction was hitting different. It was hitting better. So it just kept it a lot smoother. So I want to hear from you guys. What did you notice in those photos? Do you think this $40 diffusion panel made a world of difference like I did? I mean, me personally, I think that it really takes me to the next level. It helps me focus on my content creation more, and I have to focus less on harsh shadows, harsh lighting, just ruining my shots because, hey, I take a lot of pride in my work, and I think a lot of people do who create videos, and to have those harsh shadows, you think you're making quality content, and yet those harsh shadows and the lighting just kind of messing things up. I think the $40 was a great investment, and I'm so thrilled with my purchase. But I want to know if you guys notice anything that I didn't notice, or if you have any tips and tricks that you like to use, leave them down in the comment section below. And hey, if you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Why don't you hit the subscribe button? That way you won't miss any of my future uploads. And if you guys want to see anything on the channel being reviewed next, let me know about it. I'd love to hear your feedback. But until I catch you on the next video, we out.